When you get baptized, you don't know what you're signing up for. You do not have your life now. You do what we tell you to. I never signed up for that. I could not give my soul to this organization. And I felt that this is what they were expecting. Jehovah's Witnesses were not about love. They were more about fear. I just felt that we were cheated in this organization, that we were played with like toys, and they don't care.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to my channel. We are back for another episode of Ex-Jehovah's Witness Women Speak Out. I am here today with Beata, who is here to tell her story about her life as a Jehovah's Witness and life since she has left. So everybody, welcome, Beata. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Hi. Oh, hello, Ali.
I'm so thankful you were willing to do this. I know it can be a little intimidating. It can be a little bit sometimes hard to relive things from our past, but I am just so happy to have you here today. And I'm so thankful that you're willing to sit down and tell your story because, as you know, I think every story matters and every voice is important for those of us who have left to feel less alone, those who are in the process of leaving. It's just honestly so important for us to get these stories out there and get our voices out there. So thank you again for doing this today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, as you know, I always kind of take a step back in the beginning. I let you tell your story on how you became a Jehovah's Witness, were you born and raised it, how all that happened. And this is your chance now just to kind of give us a little bit of your background with the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Uh-huh. So I grew up in non-religious home, and I grew up in Poland. I was born there, and I lived there up to the 19th year of my life. My parents, when Poland was a Catholic country, but my parents didn't go to the church or anything. But my grandparents got involved with Jehovah's Witnesses, and they were baptized as Jehovah's Witnesses. That was my paternal grandparents. And in the end, my grandfather died as a Jehovah's Witness, but my grandmother, she kind of left because there was not much in Jehovah's Witnesses religion for her. Like, she had to benefit. She was that kind of woman. She had to benefit. And so she switched to Pentecostal religion because she was getting all these packages from the West. You know, this is kind of like a historical story. So she was getting all these packages with food, you know, that Western Pentecostal people were sending to Polish people because that was the time of communism and solidarity, and we were fighting to abolish communism, and you know, and the government has used very primitive manipulation technique on population by just giving them enough food to get by. So we had these coupons that we had to use for food, and shops were basically empty most of the time. And I did it on purpose because when you're hungry, you don't think about fighting or anything else. You think about feeding the family, you know. So it was a bit of a hard time, but we were okay. Like, we were never hungry or anything. Like, people got by. My father had lots of connections in the village, so he would go and actually buy food from farmers, and which was illegal because under communism, everything you grew or produced had to go to the government, but people did it anyway. Like, there was a lot of illegal stuff that happened because you just couldn't follow communistic rules. They were very unreasonable. So we were okay. So that this was just a bit of a political background back then. So my grandmother went to Pentecostals, and she died in Pentecostal religion. And my parents got involved with Jehovah's Witnesses when I was a teenager. I don't know how old was I. I was about 8 or 9, and they were studying. They were very serious about Jehovah's Witnesses. But what happened, we started experiencing the persecution at school. They were calling us names, related to Jehovah's Witnesses. And my mother decided that this is not going to work, so she pulled out. So that was it. But I grew up, the household was very strict and I was the eldest. So the expectations were really high for me, like to look after my brother, then look after my sister and help everybody, just do everything for everybody. And the expectations were just really too high for a child. Like, a lot of the expectations were like for an adult. So, yeah, but if I didn't perform, there was obviously punishment because, they just needed me to perform on certain tests. So it was a lot of punishment. And 99% I didn't know I was punished, but I was punished anyway. So I felt growing up that I grew up, but there was no foundation. Like my parents had this rule of children should be seen but not heard. So there was no communication. There was no like education. There was no discipline based on education. There was more discipline or punishment. You do something, you got punished, but you never knew. I mean, most of the time you didn't know what you did. So it was a bit of an awkward upbringing. I had brother that was 15 months younger and a sister that was 13 years younger. I had some spiritual experiences growing up that I didn't know what it was and where this comes from, but it felt really good. Like, I could always go to the peace within. I always had that peace within. And I didn't know at that time, but as a child, I was actually meditating. I didn't know what it was, but I just naturally would meditate and I just felt, I just had that peace within me. So that was really nice. So yeah, at the age of 15, my mother got a Bible from my grandmother and it was a huge Bible. It was like A4 size, this thick. It was one of the ones that you see in a Catholic church at the front, the one that, a priest operates, It's a huge Bible. Anyway, she was reading it regularly. And then she said one day to me, sit down, I'll read you a Bible. I said, oh no, I was just about to go out and play with my friends. Now I have to listen to the Bible. Like, who wants to listen to the Bible at 15? But but I said, yeah, okay. That was like, yeah, okay, just go with it, and then you can go. So I sat down and she's reading this Bible and, it's supposed to be 5 minutes. But I just felt, I had this massive spiritual experiences back then, like this peace and love just overcame me. It was just so powerful and I didn't want to move. So she's like, keep going, keep going. Yeah, it was one of the very significant moments. And I just kind of realized, oh, this is what love feels like. And this is what peace feels like. Like, I didn't know. And after this, I decided that this feeling of love and peace that I really want has something to do with the Bible. So I have decided that I need to know the Bible. I really needed to know this Bible because of what just happened. And I did tell my mom what happened to me because, we didn't really have that communication. I wasn't open with my parents, because it was just like, if you say something, you might get punished. So better not, better just keep quiet. That's how it was. There were in my town of 34,000 population, and there were only 2 religious groups, Jehovah's Witnesses and Catholics. Catholics in Poland were more of a traditional religion. It was just traditional, we're Catholics. But no one was really, not many people were really serious about it. It was just more of a tradition. Like, if you're Polish, you have to be Catholic. But Catholics didn't read the Bible. I know in Australia, where I live now, Catholics read the Bible and they're very serious about their religion, but it wasn't like that in Poland. So I decided that for me to know the Bible, I have to join a group that actually reads the Bible. So Jehovah's Witnesses were the options. So I knew where they were. There were Jehovah's Witnesses working in a town, in a little shop. And I went there and just basically faced out and I said, I want to study Bible. And they were, oh. So I did this, and my mom wasn't sure. She said, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?" But she followed with me. She just wasn't sure. So I was really the driving force. I didn't really want to study the Bible. So they resumed Bible study with us, but they were reading these books. And I told them, well, I don't even want to read these books. I want to read the Bible. I want to study the Bible. And they said, oh yeah, well, you know, these books are based on the Bible. And when you read these books, it's just like it's explanation. And so I was 15. I said, yeah, well, yeah, maybe. So this is what happened. So I studied the Bible for about 2 years. The first year I wasn't, studying it, but I wasn't very serious. I wasn't very committed. Yeah, I was just going with the motion. And then at the age of 16, I decided I actually need to get serious about this, and maybe this is the truth. And I think I was a bit more indoctrinated at this stage, and I decided to commit. So I became really serious, and I got baptized at the age of 17 with my mom.
Okay. Wow. I want to go back just a little bit. I find it very intriguing to me. Well, first of all, the fact that you like walked up to them and you're like, I want to study the Bible. That's like a Jehovah's Witness dream. Like somebody just comes to them and wants to study, because normally you're like, looking for someone. But I find it so interesting that you were like, I just want to study the Bible. And you had some concerns, I guess, in the beginning about them like constantly going into their own books and literature, which for people who've never been Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't just go to the Bible and like read scriptures and meditate on those scriptures. They have these books that the Watchtower Tract Society makes that are just forms of indoctrination that, they claim it's just explaining the Bible, but it's really explaining the Jehovah's Witness way of living pretty much, and like their beliefs behind it. So that's interesting that even at the young age 15, you were kind of confused by that, like why you couldn't just read the Bible. Okay, so you were baptized at 17 and your mom was baptized with you as well. Did
Yes.
your father ever get involved in it, or was it just you and your mother? Did your siblings get involved at all?
Yes, my brother was baptized a year after. So he got baptized. He got serious about it. My father wasn't involved. He was present during studies, but he didn't want to get involved because he was running a business, and he knew he couldn't be a proper Jehovah's Witness. He couldn't be this proper righteous and moral person because he was a business person. Being a business person in Poland back then, that was like almost 40 years ago, you had to do things that were considered illegal or dodgy. Okay. It was the only way to survive in a business. He could not be Jehovah's Witness because he said this would involve him leading double life, and he didn't want to do that. So he was baptized in Australia. When we came to Australia, and he got baptized in Australia. So he's now Jehovah's Witness, and my sister got baptized, but she was only a little girl when we came to Australia. She was only 7. So then she got baptized. So they're both married to Jehovah's Witnesses, and they have each a child, and I have a daughter. We all have daughters.
Okay. Interesting. So after your baptism, did you like get really gung ho in the organization? Did you ever like pioneer or anything? Did you have any doubts at all during that time, or were you just fully invested in the organization and their teachings?
No, I didn't. I think it just comes with my personality because I really wanted to know the Bible. And I am that kind of person that I don't judge at the beginning. Like I collect my information. Like I'll just sit there, and there may be some things that I just go, but I practice, and so, I will just collect the information. I'll read the Bible. I read the Bible myself at home. So every day I read the Bible. I've read the Bible several times, and everything was just like packed. So I'm not the person that can judge things very quickly unless I have
Mm.
the whole picture. So I
Mhm.
would just make these dots in, like they all disjointed. So I'll just like soak up. Like that's what I do first. I just soak up. I'll just gather
Mm.
all the information, everything. And then at some point, the dots starts to join, like bing, 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 bing. And I go like, oh, okay.
That's smart. I mean, I think that's a good quality to have, kind of being that observer who's taking everything in and really seeing everything for what it is eventually. Like you said, those dots start connecting with each other. So within the organization, what were some of those dots that you were kind of putting away in the beginning? I'm curious.
At the beginning, I was just learning,
Mm.
learning the rules, learning the way to behave. As I said, I felt like in my household, I felt like I grew up, but there was no background, and I felt like the house built on without foundation. So I didn't feel that I had a real good foundation, and I felt like I didn't really know what's right or what's wrong. And I'm that kind of a why person. Okay, if I can't steal, why? Why? you know so yeah, so I needed foundation. So I was learning like what's right, what's wrong according to the Bible. What are the standards, what are morals, like what is the proper behavior, like how do you behave with people, how do you behave in intimate relationships. So all of that I felt like I didn't receive from my parents, and I needed it. I needed to be a grounded person, and I didn't have it. So this is why I joined Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, I mean, I was collecting information, but there's always analysis. I'm a very analytical person, I have a very
Yeah.
strong science background, but um, the analysis was happening. But the
Mm.
analysis wasn't happening just on superficial information. That had to be like I had to there had to be a depth and wealth of information before I could sort of complete analysis. I had a very strong sense of self, maybe because, I was meditating
Mhm.
all my childhood, not even knowing what I'm doing. And I only realized when I started properly meditating, when I was 32. There were things that people were saying, and the things that I was reading in a Bible, in a literature, that I couldn't just believe blindly. Like I could not be blind about these things. I could not just soaking up the information and be completely blind. Like there were things that I would just go like, oh, okay. So there were things that I wouldn't just accept as a, ultimate truth, that I would just park it. Okay, like I just put it in a park box,
Mhm.
before I know more. I mean, my main goal was to know the Bible,
Mhm.
to be honest, not to be indoctrinated, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I find it interesting you talk about how you didn't feel like you had a foundation from your parents, like learning morals and, right and wrong, that kind of stuff. And I do think that's one thing about Jehovah's Witnesses is they do teach you some good things. Like it's not all negative in that organization. And like for myself personally, even growing up in it and being raised in it, there are things I take away in my age now that I'm like, it wasn't a bad thing. It's things I will still instill in my children. So I do think it's kind of good sometimes to not just focus on. I just did an interview with someone who talked a lot about the positives of their like upbringing. And it's like I like that mentality of knowing that there were good things that came out of it. So I find it interesting that that helped you. There were some things you learned from, the Bible, from the organization that were good things for you.
Yeah, when I left, I always said that I only got the good stuff out of there, and the bad stuff I left behind. And
Yeah.
that's what I said. And when I was 15, it actually was, I think it actually protected me from these crazy teenage years, because
Mm.
all my friends at school were drinking and going out with boyfriends, and they were getting into trouble. They were sitting on the lessons drunk. So, oh my God! And I was invited to drink in toilets and smoke, and I just thought, nah, I'm not doing this. So, it, it- you know, it was really helpful when I was a teenager because it actually protected me. Before my brain kicked in, before some of the wisdom kicked in back again, I
Yes.
was protected as a teenager from all this, boyfriends, and I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm Jehovah's Witness. I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it was good. It was
Mhm.
really good. And I did like to be Jehovah's Witness. I did like, in my congregation, it was all old people, like middle-aged and old people. I was the only young person. There was another young man in a congregation, but he was in a prison at that time because of the army service. So as
Mhm.
Jehovah's Witness, they couldn't accept army service, and they could only accept prison, jail time. So he
Yep.
was doing 3.5 years in jail. And all the Jehovah's Witnesses, young boys, were doing jail terms for army
Oh.
service. They could not accept auxiliary service.
Mhm.
But when he came out, I was really excited when he came out because I thought, oh, well, maybe we can be friends. But we were not the same people, I just needed a bit more depth in the relationships. And he was very much like silly and joking. So it's like, oh, okay, pass. So we couldn't really be friends. So we didn't connect very well. But I did visit him in a jail once with his mom. I was like, whoa, you live here? This is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
That
Jehovah's
is
Witness
crazy.
living in this crazy criminal place. It was like I wish the governing body could see that, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was shocking. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's scary. I can't imagine. Because I know in other countries, they've also had that happen through the years where, they end up in prison instead because they won't enlist or won't help with the military stuff. And I feel like, especially coming from a Jehovah's Witness background, you're so naive to the real world in so many ways and so protected from it that would be just so scary. Those poor young
Yeah.
guys. That's
Yes. It
terrifying.
was very, very unfortunate. Yeah, for
Yeah.
young men.
You mentioned you guys moved to Australia. Were you still pretty young when that happened, that you left Poland and went to
Yes.
Australia?
Yes. So my brother was 18 when we left. I was 19. And he was expected to be, I finished my high school, he finished his high school. He was doing a trade school, I was doing general high school. And he was expected to be called for an army service, which was compulsory under communist regime in
Mm,
Poland. And so he was facing jail time because you couldn't accept auxiliary service, which would be like working for firearms or in a hospital or post office. It
mhm,
was, he could have done this, but he was not allowed.
mhm.
But I'll get to this later because that was the very thing that I discovered. There's some things I discovered about it that absolutely smashed me for months after that. So
I
yeah,
bet.
but I really like to be in our congregation. It was full of old people. And I kind of really liked old people because they had this cool, like old time stories, and the people that we studied with in Poland, it was father and son, and the father used to tell us all these stories from the Second World War and how
Oh,
they
wow.
survived as Jehovah's Witnesses from Second World War. Because if you were Jehovah's Witness, you had to go to concentration camp,
Mhm.
basically. But he knew that the war is coming, so they made a dugout for themselves.
Wow.
So him and his brother lived in a dugout throughout the whole war. That's 4 years of war. He lived in a dugout behind the house. Nobody knew about the dugout, but they were making shoes. They worked there during the day and only came out at night, to
Wow.
wash and eat, and the wife would deliver food for them. The army people would come to call them to army, but the wife said, "Oh, they've already gone. Like you've already took them, and so we don't have them." Well, I don't have them either. So they couldn't find them because they were in a dugout.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Wow.
yeah. That's how they survived without,
Mm,
during the war without going to concentration camp. Yes. So they were really like yeah, cool, amazing stories that they were telling me. It's just like real true stories about survival. Yeah. The congregation was quite nice. There were lots of nice people. And the people that we studied with initially were they were really good, like really decent people, you know, I really liked them. They were very good people, you know, very committed and believing this is the truth. So I got baptized at 17. I spent 2 years in Poland being JW. I was very committed. I was obviously high school kid, but during every holiday I would pioneer. And this was fun, you know, being around young people, you know, and seeing the dynamics, you know, all these boys looking at girls and girls looking at boys and other girls coming from outside to check on boys. All this was happening. It was like a comedy sometimes, but it was fine. I started noticing things in Poland. Yeah, the one of the pioneering, because we had pioneering camps, we would go to a village to witness in a village. One of the pioneering camps, we were with people that had 10 children, young Jehovah's Witnesses. And Mom met a lady who invited her in, and the lady said that she studied with Jehovah's Witnesses and she was very committed, and she worked with Jehovah's Witnesses women at the shop, and they accused her of stealing, and she went to jail for 6 months and she didn't do it. So we just went like, oh, okay, well, okay. But what was happening during this pioneering camp, towards the end, we used all the leftover money to buy food to have a little bit of a party. At the end of the camp, we always had a party. We always had some like special dinner, you know, get together and say goodbyes and whatever. So my mom and the other person would go shopping. They would get all the food for party. And the food was just disappearing. Everything, they bought coffee, the coffee was gone, the meat was gone, the food was disappearing. And the host of the house, like the lady of the house, was just there clearing all the food, like taking it away. And Mom said, oh, is that all it is? Like we had so much. Yeah, that's what it is. And she would smile all the time. And yeah, that's what it is. So Mom said, nah. You know, like, and the other sister said, oh, no, she took it. And they're always stunned. They were just shocked that she would just do that, you know, from people, you know. Perhaps she had her reasons because she had 10 children and her husband was very fat and very lazy man. That he was just so lazy, you know. They had animals and I wanted to clean after the animals because, you know, it was undone and he would just sit there and just eat. And yeah, it wasn't very good. They were not a nice couple, you know. And so my mom came home and she told the elder about them, about the other lady that was interested that went to jail for stealing. And she said, well, I actually don't think this lady stole the money. I think that sister stole the money because she was stealing from us, you know. So, you know, that was the end. There was never any pioneering camp at the house. So they took them off the list, this couple. At the end of my life in Poland, that was our last pioneering camp. We had 2 elders looking after all the young people. And, you know, I just turned 19. The other people, like my friend, you know, that was dead that I kind of slept next to. She was 18 and there was a lot of minus. You know, my brother was not even 18. We were 2 elders. One was really nice person. He was really caring and warm and he was really nice. But the other was a predator, sexual predator. He would like sleazy towards girls, you know. I was married with 7-year-old son. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, you know. And I was going to go witnessing with him twice, but we were witnessing throughout, you know, we were going from village to village. So it was like village 2 kilometers of fields, village. And I said, I'm not going to go with him. No way, I'm not going with him. Everybody went with him, but I didn't. I said, no, he's dodgy. I'm not going with. I actually once saw him groping, a host daughter,
Mm-hmm.
just with hips together, rubbing against her. It's like, I came out of the room and she was against the wall and he was rubbing against her.
Oof.
I was just like, whoa, So there's just no way I would go out with this creep. But I was supposed to go out with him twice. Every time I was supposed to go out with him, the night before he would come to me, it's like, sister, it's us tomorrow. Aren't you glad?
Oof.
Happy about it? I was just like, just didn't respond at all. And the next day, I would announce to everyone, I'm sick. That's it, not going. So
Mm-hmm.
twice I was sick in bed, which was good. So, I got to sleep in and lie in bed. But, I was always sick when it was time for me to go with him. I said, there's just no way I would go with him. And that was the gentle way of me dealing with it. The next one would be to basically expose him in front of everybody. Told him he's a predator, he's a creep. Why is he here? Why is he, this is what I saw. Why is he doing it? But it didn't get to that point. Anyway, this girl, she wasn't a minor, but he was sleazy with people that are minors as well. He was sleazy with all the girls. He just thought he inherited the harem. He just thought it's harem. It's just, it's awful. And she actually got pregnant with him.
Yeesh.
And he went back to his wife and his son. So she ended up having son by this guy, this elder. And I don't know whether she was raising this child. I don't know what happened to her in the end, but her life was ruined. And I asked because he wasn't in my congregation, so I asked my friend, so what happened to him? Was he like disfellowship? Oh no, they just transferred him to Germany. What? Oh, he he cried and he cried, and they said he's really like remorseful. And I said, well, no, predators are very narcissistic. They learn these behaviors from normal people, and they put it on as a form of manipulation. It is not a remorse, it's a manipulation,
Yep.
He was like 36 and she was only 23. And he was just transferred to another congregation. That
Wow.
was it. So
That's crazy.
I think, wow, why do we have to leave the country? We left Poland because my brother was awaiting army service, which would have been jail term for him. We actually wrapped up everything. My father sold the business. We left the house. We were well off in Poland. We were not poor. We were quite well off because my father provided very well. He was very competent man, financially, very good with money. So we jumped in a car. We had a caravan, and then we just went to Greece. We went to Greece. We booked a holiday there. We went to Athens and applied to come to Australia to Australian Embassy. We had the interview, and throughout the interview, it all happened that we Jehovah's Witnesses, and obviously Jehovah's Witnesses in Poland were persecuted. We were illegal. We were not even a legal religion back then in Poland, and so the persecution was there. So we sort of claimed persecution, and the big factor, my brother was awaiting jail for the army service, and so we were accepted as refugees. We came to
Oh, wow.
Australia as refugees.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like, I was very confused about this predatory elder, because I thought, why do we have to clear our life in Poland and go somewhere? And this is what's happening. But anyway, I thought, well, maybe they somehow dealt with it. I don't know, they don't tell you. So we came to Australia. Obviously, I couldn't speak any English, we basically started from scratch. It was hard. It was a lot of hard work, starting from scratch. But I was very determined to integrate into society, into Australian society, and become a proper citizen and all that sort of stuff. So I made sure I did that. And this involved several sacrifices, because when we first came to Australia, it's incredible. We met Jehovah's Witnesses straight away. They were witnessing in our complex of refugees. So they will go out to refugees, to witness to them. So my father met this man, and he started speaking English. My father said no English, So he said, what language? And he said Polish. And so he started speaking Ukrainian. And my father actually was born in Ukraine. So they started speaking Ukrainian, both of them. And that was the first time I heard my father speaking Ukrainian. Yeah.
Wow.
He brings this old man, he was old man, home, and they spoke in a language I've never heard my father speaking. So anyway, he said, I'll take you to the congregation. And I said, yeah, okay, well, make sure it's English, not Polish, because we don't want to go to Polish congregation, because, I need to make sure that I integrate into this country, So I don't want to go to Polish congregation. And he said, oh, yeah, I'll take you to a nice congregation. Next thing we know, we're in a Polish congregation. Everyone speaks Polish. So I'm like, what? Anyway, we were stuck there. I was stuck there for a year.
Wow.
I didn't feel like I was progressing with English, because I was only talking to Polish people. And obviously we end up having Polish friends all of a sudden, and that's it. So after 1 year, I said to my family, I'm not going there anymore. I'm going to the English side. So this is what happened. My brother followed me. So we were in English congregation from then on. So from then on, we were in English congregation. And apparently my parents got a bit of grief from Polish brothers, because how dare is she, choosing her congregation. But
Yeah.
I didn't care. Like, I was that kind of person. I did what I felt was right for me and what I needed to do, moving forward. And I didn't care if people didn't like it. It was just like, well, tough, So it is. I was a very strong person, and I always did what I felt was right. And I never bent for anybody, That's how I was always like that as a child. And my father hated that about me, because he felt like I'm just too strong. Like, we need to break this child, But I was unbreakable, I was just unbreakable. My spirit was just too strong. I just want to backpedal a little bit to Greece when we came to Greece. So when we came to Greece, we applied through Australian Embassy, and we were basically living on the street in Athens in our caravan. But the caravan didn't have toilet. It was very tricky, It was very tricky to wash, and it was hard. And my father moved caravan from one street to the other street, and apparently what happened, he moved it just in front of the apartment of a person who took interest in us. There were other people coming asking if we need any help, like worldly people would come, do you need any help? And we just said that we need a unit, we need a place to live. And we can't speak Greek, we can't speak English, and we can't communicate. It was really hard, Anyway, this person that we just parked in front of his apartment, he came out and he started to talk to us and says, who are you? Like, we're Polish people. And, and he said, he saw the situation and he said, this is my unit, this is my key, you go there and you have a shower, you have a bath, you use my place. And we just went up, what? Like, this is not happening. He said, yeah, do it. And I'm going to work. This is the key. You go and you use my house. And so we did. We used toilet, and we used like the kitchen for water, and we still cooked in our caravan, and we just used that hall. So we didn't go into his house because we didn't feel like we want to invade his privacy. And we didn't want to use his house. We just used the hall and the toilet and the kitchen. That's all. We didn't go anywhere. And so, and he would come home. He says, "Why aren't you using the house?" And so, "Oh, no, that's enough. You just, it's okay. We just use this. It's fine. You just to be very grateful that you're doing this." He at some point he's talking to us like, "What a religion do you have?" And my father said, "Don't tell him, he's going to kick us out." And I said, "We are Jehovah's Witnesses." Just went straight with Jehovah's Witnesses. The guy got up and started jumping and laughing and crying and kissing all of us. And we just went like, oh, the guy got mad. He's all thingy, And he said to us when he come down a bit and says, "I knew it. I knew it. My mother is Jehovah's Witness." I said, "Oh, wow." Some brothers came to take us to the meetings, like to the congregations and stuff. So we went, but no one was really interested in giving us any help. Like, we didn't really need a lot of help, but we needed assistance to rent a place, to rent some apartment. We just needed that kind of assistance. No Jehovah's Witnesses were interested. They only wanted to know if we come to the meeting. That's all. I thought, well, it's not very loving. Like, it's very cold to see people on a family of 5. My sister was 6 at this time. To see a family of 5 on the street and not to feel like, they need, we need to help out. These Polish people left because the boy in the family is expecting jail term. Like, we left for religious reasons. The wealthy people were coming and asking if we need any help, but not Jehovah's Witnesses. You'll notice that callousness, that callousness that you just, they say, "Oh, well, in the Bible, there's this verse, you recognize them by their love." And I've never really seen that love, like, that's not, I didn't see the love, and I think what they teach them, that you hate the world and you love your brother and sister, but you have to hate them. It doesn't work like that. You either love people or you don't.
Yep.
You either have love inside you or you don't. You don't choose, okay, now I activate my love button, and here in this situation, when I'm going to activate my hate button. It doesn't work that way, So it didn't work. That sort of a switch on and off with them, it doesn't work. I didn't really see that Vasily, the guy, the person that we use his uni, we're very grateful to him that he allowed us. And we actually lost contact with him after we came to Australia. But I've never forgotten him, and I've always thought about him and how kind he was to us. I mean, we were just strangers. Like, imagining giving your key to a stranger from another country, some refugees, and saying, "Here's my house, use it."
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or he's asking us, like, "Are the brothers coming? Like, are they helping us? Like, what's happening?" So he rang the battle in Athens, and he said, "Here are the brothers. They, Polish brothers. They left because of the army service, and the boys avoiding jail term and all that. They just escaped because of religious ground. They have to help them." Nothing happened. Like, they were just not there. I think it was just like maybe 2 weeks, and he's asking, "Are they here? Are they coming? Have they offered you any help?" Like, no. No, no, we didn't see them. So he just jumped on that phone and rang the battle. And I tell you what, I knew he was swearing his head off at them, because swearing was the first thing I learned, because I learned Greek a bit, like actually quite learned. I learned Greek quite well because I was very interested in the language straight away. So the first words that I learned were swear words, and I would go to a congregation and ask sisters, "Oh, sister, what's Malacca?" And they were like, "Oh, it's like, what is it?" Anyway, after he just ripped into them, like, with the worst swearing, like, "How dare you? Like, where's your life?" And he would just rip into them. They all showed up. And all of a sudden we got offered apartment. Some older sister said, "Oh, I'm going to live with my family, and you can leave my unit. That's okay." So we got offered accommodation, which obviously we paid for. We had the money, like we didn't need the money. They would bring the money, and we said we don't need the money. We just need a place to stay. That's all. That's all we need. Anyway, from then on, things were fine. We had the place, so we have had roof over our house and a bathroom and a kitchen, yeah, which was good. We stayed in Athens maybe 9 months, 10 months, and we
Wow.
came to Australia as a refugees. So I was in Polish congregation, and then I end up in English congregation. And there were some young people in English congregation, and they were inviting us for socials. And I went there once. What I saw was a lot of gossiping, and some brothers would sort of like put other sisters down in front of everybody. It was just a lot of inappropriate conversations. And I didn't like it. I didn't feel comfortable with it. The young brothers in Australia were very different to young brothers and sisters in Poland, because in Poland, when we got together, we came with Bibles, to the socials. And we would have this conversation about everything. And we would just operate Bible all the time. Like we would read verses to each other. It's like, what is that? We would really discuss the spiritual topics. And we didn't talk about anybody else. We just discussed spiritual topics. It was really interesting. I loved it. But when I came to Australia, I kind of expected the same thing, but it didn't happen. It was all gossip. And, there was a young sister who had a Turkish background. One brother just decided to call her a Turk, which was a slur, really. It was just like she was stupid or something like that. So she felt uncomfortable. And I just thought that's horrible, and I didn't like it. So anyway, after that, I did not attend any of the socials. I just said, not for me. This is not for me. I'm not going to participate in this. Me and my brother, we didn't do any socials after that. So, but anyway, overall life as a Jehovah's Witness was kind of lonely, because when I was in Poland, there were no young people. There was young person, but she lived in a village. I can only see her sometimes on the weekend,
Okay.
And in Australia, I kind of rejected them, I also observed really strange kind of courting behavior in Australia. We landed in Perth initially. And what I observed is me and my brother sitting on the English side. And there was one brother who was interested in me, but he'll just come and sit next to me. It was more like an act of, I'm claiming her, she's my property kind of thing. That felt like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. But I've always had a solution for everything. I know this is what we're going to do. So he did that once and I didn't like it. And I just thought, he's not going to do this to me. I'm not taking it. So what I did, he was sitting there and I just thought like, okay, well, I'm just going to embarrass him in front of everybody. What I did, I just waited for everybody, like the meeting is just starting and everybody is just settled. But the speaker is still not speaking. That gap where everybody's sitting and watching and the speaker is not speaking. And that's when I would get up, pick my head up, walk away and sit in the empty seat. And everybody would just go like, so I did this to him a couple of times and he never sat next to me again. I said, yeah, sorted. That's good. I really wasn't interested in dating. I wasn't interested in boy. I actually really wanted to study.
Okay.
And I wanted to study, I wanted to make it in Australia, And really, when you get baptized, you don't know what you're signing up for. You just think, oh, I'm just going to be being baptized to be Christian. And, I'm in this religion, but I'm still allowed to have my life. I just didn't know that involved. You do not have your life now. You do what we tell you to. You've got a certain box you have to sit in. And if you try to come out, there'll be a serious repercussion. I never signed up for that,
Yeah.
never signed up for that. I didn't know that's what this evolved. So I realized that it was fine as long as you stayed in your box. And, you
Yeah.
know, when I was a high school student, pioneering during holiday time, everything was fine. Everything was peaceful. But as soon as I just wanted to have my life, the trouble started, you know. So when I came to Australia, I started to study after 1 year. I went to college first, you know, me and my brother. And I was doing some like computing, some typing, you know, I just thought I need some background. And then I signed up to for a diploma of analytical of science, analytical chemistry. You know, it was slow. Like I would take a few subjects and I would pass half of them, and my brother would pass half of them. My brother said, "Oh, in this pace, I'm not going to study. I'm not going to fail half of it." And I said, "Yeah, but you pass half. You know, you pass half, and it's only the beginning. So next year you may pass more subjects." And that was the first semester where I failed half of my subject because of English, because my English wasn't very, very good. But
Mm-hmm.
next year and next semesters, I would pass everything, and then my marks would be getting better. Like I would be getting better marks and A's and B's, you know. So it was worth it. And in the end, I finished it. But when I wanted to study, the pushback was huge. It was like, I thought, what is happening? So on my father, I think the pushback mostly came from my family. And
Okay.
I don't know what happened if they were told that, we did not approve of, further studies beyond high school, or, because they were not like that in Poland. In Poland, they wanted me to complete something beyond high school so that I have a job. So that I have like, some sort of occupation, But in Australia, it was different. It was very different in Australia. They flipped, And I think that's how cultural differences came in, because in Poland, education is highly valued, highly valued. And even though the literature, Jehovah's Witnesses literature says, we do not approve, you should be doing further studies beyond high school. Polish brothers were enculturated that education is really good. So it was like, yeah, you're not supposed to, but, like we admire you, for doing it.
Yeah.
It was like that. I knew several brothers and sisters who were doing further studies in university studies, and it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't realize that in Australia, I would have so much of a pushback. But in Australia, the culture is different. We have what we call a lollipop syndrome, which means if you try to be any better than everybody else, we'll cut you off. We'll cut you off. We'll try to destroy you. This culture is still very strong, especially in the education system, because I spent 20 years teaching in high school. So I know, I spent 20 years, fighting with that infatuation that, you're not supposed to be a good student. It's not supposed to be a lollipop, You're supposed to just, be, and if you're failing, if you're a loser, you're cool. Yeah. This is the general, attitude in Australian high schools. Unfortunately, maybe government high school, I'm not sure, but, private schools, it's probably a little bit different in private schools. But this was actually my experience, that it was just hard to teach these kids, because they didn't want to be better. They didn't want to study. They didn't want to be good students because they get bullied for it. So anyway, I'm drifting away from the thing. I didn't want to, I wanted to study. I didn't want to date. And the push from everybody, my family mainly, and I think it was also came from congregations, and the expectation, it was very different. They wanted me to get married, have babies, and not study.
Yeah.
And I just said, well, I don't want that. And so I just continued study, but like we had some classes that would finish, they were like from 6 to 10, and my father would refuse to pick us up at 10 o'clock at night, even though it was like 2 kilometers. And he said no. So we had to give up the class because we had to withdraw from the class because the suburb that my parents lived in, yeah, it was okay suburb, but I think the suburb where we passing wasn't the best. Like low socioeconomic background. I mean, it just wasn't safe for young people to go through the suburbs 10 o'clock at night or after that, So we actually had to let go of this class. And my experience was whenever I had exams, all of a sudden I had extra chores in the house. All of a sudden, mom wants to talk to me. She's lonely. All of a sudden, like I can't study because of all the load that they put on me. And so, mom, I have exams. I'm studying. Oh, you don't need that. Like, you need to spend time with your mother now. And I said, no, I need to study. So I realized at some point, no, I won't be able to just study in this house. Like, it's just too hard, you know. In the meantime, I was having some Jehovah's Witnesses sort of like being interested in me, but I sorted them out pretty quickly, I just kind of pushed them away pretty quickly with my offensive or put off behavior. But my father wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, and he would invite young men home. And I was kind of surprised. I said, oh, that changed his friends cohort. Like all of a sudden they're not like old men like him. They are like young guys coming in. Like, oh, wow, it's just, I don't know what's happening with him. Anyway, I would just ignore the whole situation. And once I heard a conversation between him and my mom, and she said, stop inviting this guy. She's not interested. And he says, oh, no, we need to marry her off. Like they got to be coming here and they're going to be, until something clicks, and I'm just like, oh, I didn't know where they were coming for me. So I thought, what am I going to do about this? Oh, yeah, I know. I know what I'm going to do about it. So from then on, every time a young man came, I would actually sit with them, and my father was so happy. He's like, oh, look at that, something is happening. It was like that in my house that before 20, you couldn't, like, the boyfriend situation was not allowed. And after 20, all of a sudden I have to get married. Like, what's going on? Like, So I'll sit with this young man and I would ask them questions. I would ask them lots of questions like, who are you? Where do you live? Do you work? Do you have a full-time job? How much are you earning? Do you have your own house? Is it paid off? And, what else do you have? Do you have a boat? What else do you have? And then I'll say something like, oh, in Australia, some women, I heard they marry men and after 1 year they divorce them and they take half of what they have. This is such a good idea. They all disappeared.
They all ran.
My father was pissed. He said, why are you saying this to them? I said, oh, but, just being transparent, just trying to let them know what they're up for, But anyway, it didn't take long. They all disappeared and I just went, cool. I just got rid of them in the Jehovah's Witnesses religion, like in the congregation. I got rid of them. All these worldly young men, I got rid of them. Great, no problem. That's it. No more marriage. There's no one around. No one left to choose from. So I did this, and I was really happy, and still trying to study. But the pushback was so huge. Was so huge, and I just knew that I won't be able to finish things with them, I had experience of one brother coming and shaking the Bible right in front of my face, like right in front of me. And he was just so angry at me. He's like, this is your university. Why are you going to college? Why are you doing it? You're a bad example to everybody in the congregation. You are such a bad person. And I'm just like, at this time, I just thought he's losing it, like he's going to have a fit. So it's like, oh, yeah, brother, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Calm down. And, as I was validating him, he was coming down, and I'm just thinking, a psycho, like total psycho, and So I managed to calm him down, but deep down I thought, these people are psycho. Why? Why am I a bad person? It's not even the prostitution. It's only education.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even prostituting. You know,
Yep.
it's just education. What's
Yep.
wrong? I couldn't see what is wrong with education. Like, and my mother told me as well, you can be a cleaner, that's fine. Like all Polish people cleaning, and you can be a cleaner, that's fine. That's not a problem. And I said, no, I can't be a cleaner. I had a really bad problems, and I was later diagnosed with a really bad scoliosis, which I healed from now on. But I had such a bad scoliosis that at the age of 32, my doctor said, well, I think you might need to be facing wheelchair soon. You know,
Oof.
it was so bad. I was all twisted up. I couldn't walk. I was in agony. And I fixed it, myself since then. So I don't have any scoliosis now. But I huge problem with my body. So I couldn't be cleaning. I couldn't work physically. I knew
Yeah.
this. And I said, my mom, I can't look at my back. I'm in pain all that. I go and do the cleaning. I did the cleaning because initially we did the cleaning. And when I was a student, I did the cleaning, to earn extra money. But I was always in extreme pain. And I said, I can't do this. Like, I need something, where I can just, have an easier job, like use my brain, not my body.
Yeah.
And my mom said, they didn't listen. The pushback still happened. So at one time, I said to my mom, if I have to be a cleaner, then I'll rather blow my brain because I'm not going to live like that. Like, I don't want to be alive being a cleaner. I'm not going to do this. This is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to be extremely unhappy and it's not going for me to continue. And I must have said it with such a conviction that she just stopped. I think she
Yeah.
backed out after that. But she made a really good suggestion. She said, oh, but what about this brother in Poland? Like he was interested in, remember that brother in Poland? He was really interested in you. And I said, no, pass everybody. But after that, I thought, there was a bit of a light bulb moment I had. I thought, hang on, this brother was a university student. I said, he's not going to stop me studying. He's studying at the university in Poland. I thought, wow, he can be a solution for me. So I thought, wow, he could be the getaway for me. He could be the, my savior from all this, my parents' situation and the congregation situation,
Yeah.
we could study together. So I wrote to him and he straight away wrote back and said, yeah, I'm really interested. I'd love to be in a relationship with you and all that. And I thought, yeah, cool, So it took me 1 year to sponsor him to Australia. He came. We
Okay.
got married straight away.
Wow.
But it was marriage of convenience.
Yep.
It
Yep.
was, and for a long time I felt like, I was trying to survive the whole thing, but I felt like I've used this man, for my advantage so that, my life can be better. And in a way I felt really bad about it. But a while ago I realized, hang on, I didn't just help him. No, he didn't just help me. I actually helped him too. Like he was running away from his situation too. Well, like we were
Okay.
both running away, you know?
Yeah.
And I realized, no, actually, it meant to happen. I think he had some feelings for me, but I didn't have any feelings for him. Like, it was just like more of a convenience thing, like, So we got married in Perth and I moved away from home and that was the first time where I could just actually study in peace. And he
Nice.
was doing some studies, so, learning some English, and then he joined me with studies. And so we still live as a married couple for 2.5 years in Perth. And during this time, we didn't really attend much meetings. Like,
Okay.
yeah, we didn't. We just kind of like, nah, not interested. So I occasionally would go like as visitors, and that's it. But we didn't decide to leave or anything. We were kind of drifting. We were sort of
Yeah.
fading, just
Yep.
naturally fading. Yeah. and we were studying, so we were happy. But we found that my family was like trying to control the marriage and trying to
Mm.
control like everything. Like, what did you buy? Why did you buy it? How much money did you spend? And all this, like we were not left alone. So um, it got to the point where it was just such a pressure. And I think my mom at some point decided that she didn't like me being away from home. She didn't want me being married, so she wanted me back home.
Mm.
It was like,
Wow.
I was like, what's going on? Like, this is all insane, you know? So,
Yeah.
um,
Wow.
I think my husband at that time, he said, I can't do it anymore. We either go, we either have to leave. I can't do this anymore. I can't be around your family.
Mm.
It's just not, it's too toxic,
Yeah.
So it's just too much control, and it wasn't very good. So I finished. I had a contract job, got a job because I almost finished my diploma in science. I got a job in a lab, in a hospital.
Okay.
So it was a really nice job, and I really loved that job. It was a contract. I finished my contract, and we decided to clean up the place that we were renting and jump in a car and just disappear. So we went around Australia. We kind of stayed in one place for 3 months, and I rejoined the college there to
Okay.
continue with my studies because I haven't quite finished my diploma in Perth. So I joined them. But at some point we decided um, we want to go and look the whole Australia and decide where we really want to live. So we did that. We traveled around Australia for about 1.5 years. Lived
Wow.
in different places. We lived in Canberra, we stayed in Sydney a little bit. We just saw the whole Australia all around and through the middle. 1.5 years, we decided to come back to our original location,
Okay.
which I'm going to out. um, and we came back and we finished college, and then I went to university, and I did university, a double major degree in science. I did chemistry, and I did molecular biology and genetics.
Wow.
So that was really cool. I was really happy. Like, I loved the study. I loved the university. you
That's
know,
amazing.
yeah, it was really great life. We were poor students. We were self-supporting. I didn't get any support from family, but you know, uh, sometimes we didn't have much to eat. Like, sometimes we only had, like, remember, $20 for 2 weeks because after we paid all the bills, we only
Yeah.
$20 to live. So we bought bread, cheese, we had tea, we bought milk, and that's it. That's all we had for 2 weeks. But
Oh
we
my gosh.
survived.
Yeah.
We survived. Yeah, we survived. We made it. Um,
Wow.
he completed his degree in a different area, still sort of science, but in different area. It's more like to do with satellites.
Okay.
The sort of satellites imaging, all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
What was happening in my marriage? Well, I actually agreed to marry him because he was Jehovah's Witness, and everybody told me he's an angel. I said, yeah, right. I could only go for an angel, like no one less than that. And the marriage situation was evolving. He just liked to have a beer, 2 beers, but the 2 beers were like 900 mils, so there was almost a liter of beer. So he
Wow.
almost had like 2 liters of beer every day, like he had to have it. And I said, why? Why are you drinking? Like, we don't have the money. We can't afford to spend on alcohol. Like, we can buy food on this. And I say, oh no, that's like food for me. Like, alcohol is food for me. So I need to drink. And I didn't know. I just thought, well, my father drank too. Like, he always had beer, but he wasn't an alcoholic. So I thought,
Yeah.
maybe this is what men do. Like, I didn't know much about men. I only know my
Mm.
father and my brother. My brother didn't drink, but occasionally he would have a little bit, but not much. Anyway, his alcoholism progressed throughout the
Oh.
years, like gradually got worse and worse and worse, and he had to drink more and more, and he had to go to harder and harder stuff. It didn't really worry me that much because it was a marriage of convenience, so I wasn't all that invested in the marriage.
Mm,
And I realized, okay, if you're gonna drink, then you have to drink your money, like you have to drink your savings. You're not gonna drink even your study money that you given, because that's all gonna go to bills. So
mm,
I made sure that I protected myself financially. And as soon as we got paid, from the government, the student money, I would
mm.
pay rent and all the bills, and I would buy food for 2 weeks and fill up the car, and the money was basically gone in one day. We may have had $20 left or whatever. So
Yeah,
I made sure I cleared the money straight away. So there's no money for drinking.
good.
And we did sometimes do cleaning and ironing service. We did ironing service. We did cleaning service for extra money as students. So we did that. So whatever he earned, he drank. He drank this money. I would ask him why drinking, like sometimes. And a couple of times he told me that he was abused by
Mm,
pioneer in Poland when he was 5 years old. And in Poland, they had these special pioneers that had to go and live in another brothers or sisters' houses. So
yeah.
his family were housing pioneers, you know.
Mm,
But they always had some pioneers there. When he was 5, this pioneer came and lived with them for 6 months, and apparently he was abusing himself. Yeah.
ugh, that's
And,
horrible.
he was drinking the pain. Also, he was saying that, growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses was really hard. He said he had to behave during meeting times, and when he didn't, he was walked across the congregation, by his ear. His father would walk him at the back and just smack him and bring him back in. And he said, "What were you beaten for?" We're like, running around. I was not, no, I was just like turning my pages of the Bibles too many times because there was nothing else to do, and I didn't understand what was going on. And so the expectation for children to participate at such a young age was just abusive, was really
Yeah.
abusive to these children. So he was very anxious, and I
Mm,
think he was suffering mentally, but he knew how to put the front. All Jehovah's Witnesses, they know how to put the front in the congregation, because I
mm,
saw him in congregation. I heard his talks, like he was doing talks, like this 15 minutes talks in front of the congregation, and they were so intelligent, like they were so good, like they were the best talks I've ever heard. Like, and
mm.
so he was a very smart man, like he was really smart, but just damaged
Yeah.
because he grew up as Jehovah's Witness,
Mm,
and all the expectations from like young people. Like he just couldn't be a child.
no.
And when he was 5, or maybe after the 5, his brother was born. And so this parent didn't have pioneers anymore, obviously, because they didn't have a room anymore. There was another child. But this first 5 years of his life was kind of detrimental. And he was he was actually a really paranoid man. Like if
Mm,
whenever we had knock on the door, he would panic. He would just go like, "What's going on? Who is he?" Like, and he would run away from and then he would come out like, "Who is this? Like, am I safe or am I not safe? Like,
oh,
who's coming?" He would not pick up the phone calls. Whenever somebody like would call, he would not pick up the phone. I had to pick up
mm,
and he would just listen on, like, "Who is it? What's that about?" Like, full on paranoid, and
that's sad.
I
Wow.
didn't know much about mental illness, I didn't know
Yeah.
much about mental problems. So I just thought he's really scared, like he's really shy and scared. Anyway, um, later on, I actually, after my degree of science, I went back and started studying psychology.
Okay.
And in the first year, in a textbook, we had this one paragraph about paranoid schizophrenia. And as I was going through the chapter, it was like I was reading about him.
Mm,
And I just thought,
oh,
whoa, I'm pretty
wow.
sure he had paranoid schizophrenia, because he would say really insane things at the end. Like he sees things that no one sees, that.
Oh. That's
He sees
hard.
people trying to steal our car. He would run away with machete. And I would look through the window and I didn't see anyone. He was running there, like fighting people that I couldn't
Yeah.
see. It was
Oh,
really
wow.
bizarre. And
Yeah.
it could be attributed to his alcoholism as well, or this delusional sort of behavior. Because he drank like a fish at the end. Like he would spend $250 on alcohol. And that was like 30 years ago. One time we had some argument, and without warning, he came behind me, my ex-husband, and he just thumped me on top of the head. And it was such
Oh,
a
my.
hard hit that I nearly fainted. Like I just saw black for a moment, I think I passed out.
Wow.
And then I regained conscious again, and then I thought, no, this is it. That's the end. I'm not doing it anymore. Because, I had this cognitive distortion there because my parents told me once you marry, it's for life. So,
Yeah.
I was raised with when you marry, it's for life. So in a way, I was trying to do that life thing, but
Mhm.
I didn't really want him. I didn't,
Yeah.
in a way, I was trying to figure out how to get rid of him anyway.
Mm.
So I was like, yeah, it's for life, but I'm trying to get rid of you. Yeah, it's for life. I was really confused, and I
Yeah.
didn't unpack it back then so much. At that point, I decided I am leaving him. And, I
Yeah.
have to think about renting a place, moving out. I had a job, so that was fine, but I'm leaving him. Interesting how one door closes and the other one opens. The next
Yep.
day, we received a phone call, and the phone call was from his father. And his
Mm.
father told him that he has prostate cancer, and apparently he's in the last stage, and he doesn't
Oh,
know
wow.
how long he's going to be alive, and he would like to see him before he dies. And my husband said, "Oh yeah, well let's go together." And I said, "Oh no, we can't, because we just purchased a brand new car. Somebody has to stay behind and pay the car off, and somebody has to pay the rent. We can't all go. We don't have finances to finance this for like months. We
Yeah.
don't have months of money to finance this." And he said, "Yeah, oh, yeah, all right then." But before he went, and that was, I knew he's going to go and that would be the end of it. In my mind, that was the end of it. So
Mhm.
I play my part. Yeah, you go and I'll take care of things here. Because he also had this, I knew that he was quite insecure, and I knew that he could get vicious if he knew that I was going to leave him.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
have to play part of like we're together,
Yeah.
even though in my mind we were not together anymore. So he actually left pretty quickly,
Mhm.
and I dropped him off at the airport, and and he got me to promise him that we're still together and I'm still going to be here when he comes back, and I did, because otherwise he would jump on that plane.
Yep.
So I said, yeah, I promise, just go on, jump on the plane. And
Yeah.
went back home. It was like, yes, finally I got rid of all that pressure from my family. I got rid of Jehovah's Witnesses. I got rid of him. I'm free. That was
Mhm.
I felt so free. I think when he got there, on the second day, he rang me and I basically told him on the phone, that's it. Not coming back. That's it. That's the end of it. And I'm taking restraining order against you for what you did. Your physical act of hitting me on the head. It's the
Mhm.
first time that I saw that violence on him, but I wouldn't take it. Deep down, he was like a really sensitive and nice person, but he was just damaged by being Jehovah's
Yeah.
Witness, by growing up Jehovah's Witness. He was just damaged man. Even before he left, he would talk to me about taking drugs because he said, well, alcohol isn't doing much for me anymore. I need drugs. And I said, well, the alcohol is legal substance that I can't report you to the police for alcohol, but I
Yep.
will for drugs. If you bring drugs to this home, I'll call police straight away. And I actually did call police on him when he hit me. So I made sure I reported that. So there was a report on him assaulting me. Anyway, he was very distraught. And at some point, his father rang me from Poland and he said, he's really drinking heavily. And I said, yeah, I know. He's really behaving badly. Yeah, I know. What's new? Tell me what's new. Said, he jumps into our bed with us and wants to sleep with us. And he was like, at that time, 30-year-old man. And so he's behaving like a little baby. And I said, nothing phases me. I've seen it all. Before he left, like I would complain sometimes to his parents about him drinking, to his mom, and his mom tried to convince me to have a baby with him. And I said, no. And I basically told me, he doesn't look after me. He's drinking like crazy. I'm not going to have a child with an alcoholic, and I'm not going to have a child who has got genes like that, bad genes.
Yeah.
No way. And she was like really shocked that I said that. Yeah, so they complained about him behaving badly in Poland. I said, yeah, nothing will surprise me, nothing. And I basically said to the father, he was still elder, I said to him, look, I don't want him. I don't want to have someone like that in my life. Like, you keep him or you throw him out. I don't care what you do, I don't care about him. But interesting, like he was so messed up that he got involved with someone in Poland and he married this person, brought her back to Australia. She had a child in Poland with someone else. She left that child with her parents to come to Australia to live with him.
Wow.
And but he didn't leave me alone. He would still, I had restraining order on him. Like, he lived in a different city. He came back to Australia, but he lived in a different city. But for 3 years, he tried to come back to me while he was being married to this sort of like worldly girl. Like, she was a Jehovah's Witness. She never was. He was married to her. He would try to come back to me. So I had all these emails, but he tried to come back always like, I want to come and see you. I just want to come and see you. Can I just come and see you? No. And, and I would just write down, you can come to my town, my city, if you like, but let me know when you're coming because I have to renew restraining order against you. Like police order against you, just to make sure that you don't come. But if you knock on the door, I'll call police straight away. So that's why. So, it was always like, he would be really nice trying to like, oh, I've changed and I want to come back. And if I said no, it would be a lashback. He would just be like vicious, like swearing at me, and there would be verbal abuse in an email. So he was really messed up.
Yeah.
In the meantime, some Polish people rang me from the city that he was in. They had a dinner at the place, and my ex-husband jumped on his new wife and was punching her. They tried to protect her. He said, I have a gun upstairs. I'll go and get it and I'll shoot you all. So they all just ran to the car and took off. And that's what he rang me to tell me. And I said, yeah, he wasn't as bad. Like, he was bad, but he wasn't as bad here as now you describe. But after 3 years, I was sick of him. Like, I wanted to get rid of him. These Polish people that rang me to complain about him, they told me where his new wife works. So I Googled her, I found her work email, and I just basically all the emails that she was writing to me saying, can I come back? You're the only thing I love. I don't love my wife. I want you. All that sort of stuff. I will just write an email. Can you please fix your husband? And I forwarded all these emails to her, and that was the end of it.
Yeah,
He
good.
never wrote to me again.
Wow.
Which was
Did he
good.
ever go back to like being a Jehovah's Witness, or did he pretty much stay inactive that whole time?
I don't know. I was never interested. Like, I was never really interested in him, and I continued that. I have no contact, and I want to maintain it. I got married later on, so I changed my name. So he doesn't know
Okay.
my parent name, so he can't
Mm,
find me. But he used to
that's
call
good.
me at work because he would find me through workplaces. Even if he didn't have
Wow.
my phone number, he would find me through workplaces and he would call me.
So how old were you when you kind of went inactive and just faded away from you were early 20s when that happened?
So what was happening? I think I was quite devout, but I wasn't blind,
Yeah.
in this religion. So I started to notice things like the first thing that I noticed was the fear factor, like
Mm,
fear,
yeah.
in the religion. Um, oh, if you're gonna live, you're gonna die in a God's war, uh, you know, in Armageddon, and I just thought, I don't care. Like I
Yeah.
was that kind of person. As a child, I was never afraid of dying. I would actually ask my mom when I'm gonna die. Like I had this innate belief that afterlife is better than this. Like
Yeah.
this is problem. But when
Mhm.
I will leave, that's good. That the afterlife is good. And this one
Yeah.
was the challenging. That's where the challenge is, to live on this planet. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm here because I love God and I want this to be about love, not fear. But I
Yeah.
found that Jehovah's Witnesses were not about love. They were more
No.
about fear,
Mhm.
fear and control, you know?
Yep.
And every time you had different thoughts or you had a question, or you were not sure, it was fear. Oh, but Armageddon is coming, or God,
Yeah.
you can't disappoint God because then he's going to kill you if you disappoint God. It's like, these are children's stories. I'm not buying into this. It's
Yeah.
BS. So it just didn't sit well with me. So I just rejected that. Like, no, that's BS. And that was
Yeah.
the first thing. And another thing was, I got to the point where I soaked up all the information from the books and from the watchtowers and literature, that I just thought, well, I don't want to use the questions that they have in a watchtower. I have my questions. I want
Mhm.
to ask my questions. And they say, oh, no, 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 they set out the questions for you. So, like, yeah, but you set out the questions for people who do not know what they're doing and they absolutely don't know their religion. But now I know, I have my
Mhm.
questions. And they said, oh, no, that's not how it works. So it was like, so kind of my enthusiasm of commenting during meetings kind of faded. So that was another
Yep.
thing, was a bit deflating. Like, no, I don't want your stupid questions. I have mine, you know?
Yeah.
So that was deflating. Another thing, I worked really hard to like pioneering and I tried to evolve spiritually. I had this idea inside me that I need to be evolving spiritually. It's not like I get to a certain point and that's it. So I asked them, okay, pioneering, obviously at school years, like what else can I do? Like how else can I, like what's the next step? And they said, no, that's it. You come to meetings and you pioneer when you can and, that's it. And I said, nah, that's not it. Spiritual evolvement doesn't have that end. It can't be, you know? So in me, like I somehow didn't know where I knew this from, but for me, I felt like, no, it's not a dead end. No, spiritual evolvement is not a dead end.
It shouldn't be. It
It
shouldn't be.
shouldn't be.
No.
No, you're
Mm-mm.
supposed to be evolving all the time. And I am that kind of person that I evolve all the time. Like I just constantly work on myself. I know evolved and I grow all the time. And I couldn't imagine not growing.
Mhm.
Anyway, whenever I was in sort of any relationship and it felt like it wasn't growing, I would get out of it. Like
Yeah.
if I didn't feel that we were there to help each other grow and challenge, I would just stop it. And so
Yeah.
growth was very important for me in all relationships. So that was very deflating when they said that's it. So I thought, okay. And I am that kind of person when somebody says, this is the limit, this is the limit. When I feel like I have nowhere else to go, like I can't go further, I kind of go down, I kind of deflate. And
Mhm.
I felt myself losing interest. like
Okay.
just losing interest, And then there was this sexual predator in Poland that was
Mm,
a bit shocking for me, I was
yeah.
getting angry with them, When I came to Greece, I saw a clear example of lack of love, lack of care. Like they knew we left Poland because of religious reasons, because of, you know, my brother was gonna go to jail if we didn't leave. And my father said, my boy is not going to go to jail. It's my brother is a really decent human being. I think he's not an elder, but he's service like this the
Oh,
helper.
ministerial servant?
Yeah,
Ministerial
ministerial
servant, yeah.
servant. Yeah, so he's a ministerial servant,
Okay.
and yeah, he's a really decent human being. Like he's a really nice and decent human being.
Yeah.
It's a shame he's still in it,
Yeah.
but yeah. Um, so the lack of love was another thing that I saw. That's like, yeah, it does. It says in the Bible you recognize them by love, but I don't see this. I don't see this love in them.
No.
So
Not
this
real genuine love, absolutely not. No.
morning, and and in Australia, I started to see this. If you in a box, then you're fine. I just felt that they were trying to overtake my life, and I said, I am in a religion as another aspect of my life. My religion is not my whole life. I
Mhm.
have my life. I need to have my private life, my, you know, career life, my, spiritual life. That's a spiritual life.
Mm.
Spiritual life is not the only life that I meant to have. So I rejected that notion that when you Jehovah's Witness, all it is in your life. I said, no, I have my life. That's religion. They're all separate. So I was very heartbroken that, that I couldn't just live my life, that they wouldn't leave me alone, that I had to go through the motion of getting married with someone I didn't want. Because I asked my father if I can move out so I can study, I wanted to move out, but he said, you can only move out when you get married.
Mm.
But if you move out before being married, then I'll make sure I'll find you and I'll drag you home by your hair.
Mm.
I said, oh my God, so, and it was hard for me to just sort of said, yeah, okay, try it,
Yeah.
because we were only like 2 years in Australia. My English still wasn't the best. I didn't have any other family. We were in a new country, a new culture. I couldn't just sort of like, my family were my only support system. I couldn't just go like, yeah, okay, stuff you. I'm going to do my own thing. I've got my friends. I can go with them. I can find my own accommodation. And, I don't need you. I couldn't say that, because I didn't need them at that time. So I was really shocked that I think that was the thing that the stroke on the back of the camel,
Mhm.
that no, religion is not going to overtake my life. It's a part of my life, but it's not my life. And I couldn't accept that I couldn't study. I thought it was just ridiculous and stupid, and I wasn't going to budge. I was going to study no matter what it takes,
Good on
because it
you.
was about my future. It
Yeah.
was about my, my life, career. Like when you're 8 hours at your job, that's a third of your life. That's what they take away from you. But anyway, like, we just faded. We just faded and we stopped going. We never disassociated. We were never disfellowshipped.
Yeah.
We just disappeared on them. I would
Mhm.
make sure they didn't know our address, that they couldn't follow up. So we just disappeared. Anyway, when I left Perth, when I left my parents for 7 years, I didn't have much contact with my family because I needed that time to process what happened.
Mhm.
I needed to process my childhood, what happened in my childhood. I needed to process about what happened with Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was busy studying. I was doing from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. studies because I needed to make
Mm.
sure that I'm successful in my studies. So I'll use all my spare time to study. I studied all the time. I didn't have any friends. I didn't go out. I just studied all the time.
Mhm.
So I didn't have time to worry about my ex-husband. And I took the time away from my family They only knew which place, which city I am, but they didn't have my address. They didn't, they didn't really, they couldn't pass on the information to anyone. It was good. It was freedom,
Mhm.
it was better life than
Yep.
being Jehovah's Witness in a congregation, and you know.
Yeah.
But the other thing was I realized, I recognized, how can, when we Jehovah's Witness, how can they don't even have love and compassion for their own people, and worldly people do? Like when we
Yeah.
were in Greece, the worldly people would come and try to help us, and they would give us water, and they would help us because they could see that we're in a bit of a pickle there. But Jehovah's Witnesses were not nowhere to be around, you know.
Yeah. You saw through
Yeah.
it. You
And
saw That's interesting that you saw it through so early. I feel like as a young person, you can be more blinded to that stuff, but you were smart enough to see through everything. That's
yeah,
impressive.
yeah, because I would analyze everything.
Mhm.
It's like this is not love. That like
No.
ignoring people in a situation, that's not love.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but it was also a bit of a lonely life because when I got serious with Jehovah's Witnesses, obviously I couldn't associate with the worldly girls. So
Mhm.
I still did to some degree, but we were not close. Um, but there were not young people there. So it was a bit of a lonely life. Like it was protective, but it was a lonely life. Um, in Australia, I kind of rejected them, but I'd also had Polish Jehovah's Witness friend. She was 3 years older than me, and she was in a Polish congregation. I think she left at that point, but yeah, I had a one friend in Australia in Perth, but she married very young and she had a girl, like she had 6-year-old girl. She was like
Mm.
23 and she had 6-year-old girl, 5-year-old girl. Like she married very young at 18.
Mhm.
You know. But anyway, at some point, what happened also in Perth, that as soon as we arrived, one sister, she was about 45, was very interested in us. She would come and visit, and she would tell me, like, come over to my place for sleepover and you can practice your English and I'll give you a nice massage and it'll be nice time. We can have dinner together. And I just thought, I can visit, but I'm not going to stay overnight because I had my
Mhm.
bed and I don't sleep in other people's beds. Like I have my own. I like my bed. It's clean. Like I was a bit of a clean freak at this time. Like it used to be
Mhm.
cleaning. I'm not, I mean, and I basically thought she's offering me her bed because she thinks I'm in a desperate situation. I didn't
Mm.
know all the culture, the sleepover culture. I wasn't privy to this. I
Yeah.
wasn't aware of sleepover culture because we didn't do
Mm.
it in Poland.
Mhm.
So I just thought, no, I don't need this because I had my bed. We went once, she invited us she said, I invite you for tea. In
Mm.
Australia, tea means dinner. And we thought
Okay.
she meant cup of tea. So we came after our dinner for a cup of tea. She cooked all our food. We couldn't eat it because
Oh.
she said, oh, I invited you for tea. And I said, yeah, we thought it's just tea. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't know it's dinner. So we ate and we're here for
Yeah.
tea. So anyway, I'm talking one day to my Polish Jehovah's Witness friend and I say to her, um, she's inviting me over for sleepovers and she's telling me she's giving me massage and all that. And I don't know. No, I said, I don't want to go. Like, it's a bit weird. I don't really like the idea. And she said to me, don't go. I said,
Mm.
oh, why not? And she just gone really quiet and serious. And I said, why not? And she said, she did it to me. She invited me over once. And we went to bed. After having dinner, we went to bed. She said, I'll give you a massage. And she said, yeah, all right, sounds good. And then she was massaging her, and then she started touching her and kissing her
Mm.
everywhere in the intimate parts. And she said, I got so freaked out. I jumped out of bed and collected my daughter and went home. And I
Mm.
said to her, well, you've got to tell the elders. And she said, oh, no, 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 you have to tell the elders. And so she went to the elders and told on her. And then I had a conversation with elders and they asked what happened. And I told them, well, she was just inviting me, but I never went. So nothing ever happened. And so she got reproved. But the elders, at least the elder who was announcing that she was reproved publicly, he said, be very careful, sisters and brothers. So he kind of like warned the congregation. He didn't say what, but he said, be very careful of this person. So they just
Interesting.
knew they had to sort of like distance themselves from her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there was another predator that I saw, that she should have
There's
been reported to the police,
yeah.
for her predatory. But she was 45,
Mm,
she was doing it to, I was 20. She was inviting me over. She was doing it to young people and,
mm,
vulnerable population like immigrants,
yeah.
refugees.
That's
Disgusting.
horrible.
Yeah. So, I guess it wasn't just one thing that made me decided I'm not sure about this, and I don't think I'm interested in it anymore.
Yeah.
It was just collection of this thing. It was just one thing after another that that just caused me to sort of drift away from the Jehovah's Witnesses. In the end, I just wasn't interested. And a lot of the stories, I think I thought it was just I always felt that they speak to Jehovah's Witnesses like they're children.
Yeah.
And even now, when I hear the governing body, I can't listen to them. I get really angry. And I said, they talk to people like they're children. They
Yes,
speak
they
to
do.
them really slowly and,
Mm,
this is what's going to happen and that in that calm and comforting voice and, that sort of like hypnotic
yeah.
state voice trying to hypnotize them. I get really angry. I can't listen to this at all. Like I just have allergy to this.
Yeah, I mean, once you see through it, it's hard to not kind of cringe at every little thing that they do and say, and it's terrible. Did you deal with anybody at any point trying to get you back into it, or did your family and everything respect your choice to kind of walk away from it?
Well, when I left Perth, I didn't talk to my family for 7 years. And then I reconnected with them. What happened? I went back to Perth. After I left my husband, I went back to Perth to visit my family. I think I got like 6 weeks holiday from work. So I said, yeah, I'm going to go then to them. And
Okay.
at some point, we were sitting in the lunch room. I was talking to my mom and I could see my father is pacing on the corridor.
Mm,
He's just pacing like he's building up to something. And I thought,
mm,
okay, that doesn't look good, But I just thought, well, I'm a 30-year-old woman. I can handle it. Now I can handle it. Um, I was away from him. I dealt with a lot of my childhood stuff. I dealt with a lot of stuff. I'm a lot stronger you know, and I was always very brave as a child. I was always really brave, So I had that bravery in me that I just said, yeah, maybe I'm scared a little bit, but I still gotta stand up for myself, whatever happens. So all of a sudden my father says to me, you have to go back to your husband. And I looked at him and I said, make me. And he just got really mad after that. And he said, yeah, and he came up to me and he's just swinging his fist above my head. And you gotta come back to him. He's your husband. We're married for life. You're not gonna live like, who do you think you are? Like living in like a widow. You're living like, what are you gonna do now? Like you have to go back to your husband. And I just said to him, well, if you like him that much, maybe you can go back to him. I don't like him. And he got even madder. And he was
Oh
even
no.
crazier about this. So he was yelling, and I just said, nah, this is my turn
Mm,
now. So I got out and I faced him. We were like 10 centimeters away from each other. He was yelling at me and I was yelling at him, except that he was really angry and I was yelling, but I was fully in control. And I was yelling about anything, like, he was yelling about me. He was trying to force me into complying, but I was just yelling about anything, like unrelated,
mhm.
really, just so that I can keep on yelling, because I have to
Yeah.
win this match. And I thought he's gonna like hit me, like there's gonna be some further repercussions from that. that is going to subdue me. But
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised, like we had this 10 minutes match, the screaming match at each other. And my mom was like, I looked at my mom at the corner of my eyes and she was like she's never seen it in me, I never showed them that side. And
Wow.
after 10 minutes, my father just looked at me and he just turned around and disappeared. And I
Mm.
yelled after him, hey, you come back, we're not finished yet. And he just disappeared. When he came back into the room, he came back calm. And I said to him, next time you do it, you won't be running through the back door to your garage. You'll be living through the front door with police officers. I told him
Mm.
that in his own house. And he went, okay.
Wow.
And that was the end of it. They never tried to influence me on anything.
Yeah.
But what happened, because I didn't talk, what I think happened, like they never told me. They don't tell you much, Jones Witness. They just do things. They don't, they
Yeah.
didn't break contact with me, even though I left, they didn't break contact with me. But what I think happened, they never told the elders that they have
Mm.
contact with me. So the elders didn't know.
Got
Why
it.
I know is because every time I went there and I said, oh, if you want me to go to congregation to the meeting with you, I can. Like, I'm not joining in again,
Mm.
but I can just go and visit. And they always said, oh, no, we told them we're going to be on holidays and we're doing stuff. We're not going. While you're here, we're not going to go. And if we're
Mm.
going to go, you're not coming. So I thought, okay, why? They never told me why, but what happened, they were keeping my existence a secret. Even when my brother was getting married, his new wife or his wife to be didn't know I exist. She didn't know he had an elder sister. Like she
Wow.
found out maybe like 2 weeks before the wedding when they were sending invitations that there is that she didn't know. Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
most of them don't even know I exist. So I basically don't exist.
Mm. Wow.
I
Wow.
don't exist to them. My mom tried to occasionally witness to me, but I
Mm-hmm.
always say, Mom, this is your religion. I'm happy in it. If you're happy in it, I'm happy for you, but I'm not interested. Don't tell me
Yeah.
about it because I've been in it. I know it all. I'm telling you, based on what I know, I'm not interested. Don't tell me. Oh, but Armageddon is coming. And I said, yeah, for how long? For the last 120 years? How many generations were born and died? Hope
Mm-hmm.
the same thing.
Kudos to you for seeing through it all and being a strong-willed woman that was able to go against the grain even from a young age. I mean, from the point of just going to university and getting additional education. And I mean, I think that's amazing. It's truly something to be proud of that you could kind of pave your own path, especially in a organization where women are usually, like you said, you're in this box. They want you in this box. You just get married. You just have children in it. You don't do anything for yourself. You don't think for yourself. So good on you for not doing that and paving a path for yourself and your future that was bigger and better than you ever would have had if had you stayed in the organization. It's amazing.
Yes, I agree that, I was that kind of person. I always thought I had my own thoughts. I might not have been sharing it always. Sometimes it
Mhm.
wasn't safe to share my thoughts, but I always had them. I could
Yeah.
never get rid of it. And I'll always be analyzing things. Even as a child,
Yeah.
I'll always be analyzing things and thinking about it. I was very, I was thinker,
Yeah.
even as a child. But yeah,
Good.
I was very strong, And
Yeah.
my father once said to me, you as a woman, you are too strong. You, no one will ever marry you if you're going to be this outspoken. You can't speak. You have to be meek. You have to smile a lot. You have to be really soft and gentle and like a pussycat.
Yeah.
He didn't say pussycat, but basically that was the frame. And
Mhm.
that this is how you have to be. Like he would try to tell me how I have to be to attract a man. And he said, you will never marry anyone if you're going to be the way you are. And I said,
Mhm.
oh, really, Dad? That's all I have to do. And he was just deflating. Like he was trying to tell me everything with me of how I have to
Mhm.
attract a man. And I realized, yeah, that's all I have to be if I don't want to attract a man. I just have to be outspoken, and all the
Yep.
weak ones will disappear. And the ones who can withstand an outspoken, strong woman will stay and maybe appreciate it. And I thought,
Yep.
wow, this is what I'm going to do. This is exactly what I'm going to do. So
I love that.
I couldn't kill the thinking aspect in me, the analytical aspect in me. I just couldn't give them my sense of self. I could not give my soul to this organization,
Yeah.
and I felt that this is what they were expecting, like
Mm-hmm.
zombie. They just expected this army of zombies, and I could not be this zombie. Like I had a strong sense of self as a young person. I was strong. I had a strong sense of justice. And they were not going to kill that in me. Like it was unkillable. My father tried very hard to do that, in
Mm-hmm.
my childhood, to make me a bit more malleable, but make me a bit more like the way he wanted me to be. But it didn't work. It didn't work. He failed with everything he did. He
Yeah.
failed.
Well, I mean, that's good for you. I'm proud of you for being such a strong person despite trying to be broken even by your own father. So,
The one thing I want to mention, I left Jehovah's Witnesses and I went into my studies and I just got involved with my life and I just left it. I never kind of disassociated or anything. I just thought like, I'm not interested in it anymore. Like as soon as I saw that it was good, I was in it. But soon as I thought, no, this is crazy, I was out. And so I never really went back and looked at the doctrines. Is it truth or not? I just innately sensed that this is wrong. And I never needed to investigate this. But lately, I had a bit of an argument with my mom. And it wasn't an argument. She was saying like bit of a cruel things about worldly people and, how they're going to die. Yeah. I felt it was a bit cruel because that's how they indoctrinated that, the worldly people as good as dead because they're going to die in the Armageddon. So you don't worry about them. They're just as good as dead unless we can pull them out, back to Jehovah's Witnesses. So I couldn't believe she was saying these things. And I didn't know where it was coming from. I thought maybe there was some websites that they listen to, some YouTube channels that maybe they're being indoctrinated. Anyway, it was going for a while. And at some point I rang my brother and I said, it ends here. She's not going to be saying these things. It's like, like I'm shocked by hearing, how she speaks about worldly people. And I just can't take it. Like I'm shocked. And it was very unloving way. And, I said, I have to call elders. I'm going to call elders and I'm going to dub it on her, and I'll ask them that to provide assistance for her, like to help her out, to help them out, because that kind of speech is unreal. Like I'm non-Jehovah's Witness. I can't believe this, that you get, that kind of speech goes on. Anyway, they said, yeah, she probably shouldn't have said that. And I said, no, don't undermine this. This is shocking. Like people in the world, if they hear it, this is shocking to them. This is not, oh, she probably shouldn't have said. Don't play it down. It's serious. You can't be speaking like that. And she said, oh yeah, we're going to talk to them. Okay, fine. So that's how they find out about my existence, because they didn't know I exist. So none of the elders knew I exist. The ones that knew I exist are probably dead now. So no one knew I exist. So I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to ask them for help, to provide help to my parents. What actually happened is I exposed my existence. So I don't know what happened, but we're not in contact anymore for 5 years. And in a way, I feel like I don't want to be around that hateful speech, so I don't want to, I don't want to be around that. None of my friends are like that. Whenever somebody's like that, I just cut them off. And that's my family that speaks so hatefully about lonely people. But what happened, my daughter said to me, oh, my cousin is not talking to me anymore. she just stopped talking to me mid-sentence, and it was after I reported my parents, for
Mm.
this stuff that they say. And then that hit me, and I thought, oh, I think they're shining us. That's when I realized they're shining us, because her 2 years younger cousin isn't talking to my daughter anymore. And she really likes my daughter. Like, they've done really well. Like, she was always wrapped about seeing my daughter whenever I went back to visit. And I thought, yeah, they're shining us. And but I know it's not the child. It comes from the parents. It comes from my sister, And I thought, I had to explain it to my daughter. Oh, they're Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, that's what they do. They use that to punish people. If you speak against them, they'll punish you. If you leave, they'll punish you. And, she didn't even know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses, my daughter. So I had to explain it to her a little bit. And I said, are you really sad about it? And she said, well, no, Mom, because I have so many friends. So it's like, if she wants to, she wants to. If she doesn't, she doesn't. And I just thought, yeah, it's not my daughter who is missing out. It's her cousin, Jehovah's Witness cousin, because they don't have friends in the world.
Yep.
And the friends that they have in a congregation are few, nothing to choose from. Really, nothing to choose from. It had massive effect on her, but not so much on my daughter. So, if they think they're punishing us, they're really not. Like, we still live our life the way we used to, and we have friends in the world, and, we choose our friends like, hey, it's billions of people out there to choose from.
Yes, that it's more harm on them. Their shunning does more damage for sure to them than it does to the ones on the outside they're shunning.
And
Absolutely.
I definitely have to say that I have much better friendships in the world than I had in Jehovah's Witness of religion. Like, there was no one to choose from, and those
No.
friendships were not really authentic. We're just like, you choose and pick what to say, because
Yep.
certain things are not accepted. So you can't really have friendships like that. It's definitely,
No,
there's a big block there in friendships.
absolutely. Well, I have really appreciated you sharing your story. You've had you've lived life from your stories in Poland to being such a strong-minded woman. And even before you officially walked away and fighting against the norms that we're seeing in the organization are truly so admirable. It's truly amazing. I always like to finish these interviews off with a couple of things. If you could give advice, someone who is maybe sitting here questioning things, maybe they were like you, kind of sitting back, being analytical, seeing things that weren't adding up, what would that advice be to those people?
Before I say that, can I also mention one thing that is really fundamental,
Yes, absolutely.
and that made me, like, I went into shock after I realized that? We left Poland. We wrapped everything up. My father sold the business. We left our friends, like our community. We left our culture, our language, to come to Australia because of the army service. Because my brother couldn't choose auxiliary army service. And then I heard in one of the videos of Ex-JWs that governing body had membership with United Nations. And United Nations, they say, is it the beast in a Bible? That's the beast. That's definitely an organization we cannot be associating with. And we stay away from the world. Yeah, and we isolated from the world. When I heard that, my world just collapsed. Like, I could not pick myself up for 3 months, and my heart was in excruciating pain for 3 months. And I said, you bastards. You telling us to stay away from the world. You telling us to avoid army service, not accept, alternative service, to pay that back. You telling us to go to jail, to suffer, to go through all these hardships. And you have membership with United Nations, and you're fine with it. You rotten bastards. But I just felt that we were cheated in this organization, that we were played with like toys, and they don't care. because as
Yep.
soon as they get the power and the control over you, and as soon as they think they have your life, like predators, they're happy. They don't care about your life. They're predators, you know? They're
Yep.
just interested in power and control. And, you know, what can you have for them? What can you give it to them? Like,
Yep.
you know, it was really shocking for me to find that, because that was very fundamental. Like, we wrecked all our life, we changed our life, we came here, we worked really hard. It affected all of us. For what?
Yep. It's beyond frustrating that. And the thing is that none of the, at least as far as I know, like active Jehovah's Witnesses probably have no clue about that. I had no idea about that until I left and did research. But there's so many things like that that they've done through the years. Like you said, they're just playing with these people. They want the control, and they love getting that control over these people's lives. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
It's absolutely horrible. Yeah, it's all about that. It's a very narcissistic organization where, you know, people just give and give and give into organization, and the organization is a governing body, and they lavish in that power and control. They lavish that they have millions of people under them doing whatever they put the finger on, you know.
Yep.
It's disgusting. It's
Absolutely.
really
It really
disgusting. And
is.
they have really affected our life. And, you know, we made it through somehow because we were young. But my parents have never learned the language the way they should have. You know, they were affected. They couldn't work as much anymore because they were older. So, you know, they somehow made it, but they would have been far better off and have much, much more enjoyable life in their own country, you know, amongst their
Yeah.
own people, in their own
Yeah.
community. This was foreign. This was foreign to them. So it
Yeah.
wasn't fair. So they have played with our lives, and I am really angry at them about this. I said I will never stop talking against them, and this is why I'm speaking now. And the more people out, the better, you know, because you know, people have given their lives and their souls to this organization, and
Yep.
no one, unless they are vampires, should ask for that, you know. And they want blood as well, because you can't take blood during transfusion. You can't have transfusion. Yeah. They want everything, you know. And it's done in the name of God.
Mm-hmm.
How disgusting. So
Yep.
if I would give an advice to anybody that is out there for Jehovah's Witnesses, I would just say that if you're experiencing unhappiness, depression, anxiety, if you don't have a joy in life, there is a reason for it. And the reason can be, you know, found with maybe professional or a good friend, you know, that it's worth introspecting on your life and what happened. I'll also say that no matter how much you're gonna lose in this religion, maybe your whole family, because you're probably gonna lose your whole family, you're gonna gain your life. And why would you want to give life for like governing body who just want power and control, and they want your life, you know? And elders are just like the puppets, you know? Why would you want to be in a relationship with people who don't have your best interest at heart, who just want you to follow, who browbeat you to follow the rules, even if you disagree? And I can just imagine how much in pain you must be, you know, how much in pain for your own, pain and grief for your own life, because you have to conform and you have to make everybody happy. And I say, you don't have to. You don't have to make anybody happy. Your job is to make yourself happy, you know, is to be true to yourself, not to everybody else. They don't know who they are.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
be true yourself. This is your job. To XJW, as I would say that I'm really sorry when people have spent decades in this religion, when they were born in this religion, that, you know, they could not have the normal trajectory of development. They couldn't do the very thing that was normal for the development, because they either had to be at school, away from worldly people, so isolation, or they have to be at the meeting or witnessing. Like, imagine children witnessing
Yeah.
crazy stuff. So I'm really sorry that you had to go through it. I just have to say, this is not normal development, and it causes a major gaps in the development, but they can be bridged, like they can be bridged. And it causes a lot of damage later on. And it definitely causes, if your development is stunted or halted in any point, that causes a loss of self. So I know on that people leave the organization and they don't know who they are. Because it starts with you have to have a reasonable development or work on it in your adulthood to bridge all those developmental gaps in order to find then who you are. Because that's the base, that's like a foundation, you know.
Yeah.
And Jehovah's Witnesses do not provide normal development. It's all about religion, you know. And so I would encourage people to seek help, to look for someone, to buddy, to you know, to just to work through it. The more you work through it, the more you go through your grief, the more you go through your losses, the better off you are. And it's a long process, and it probably is a lifetime process, you know, continuing, getting the techniques, getting the tools behind you, and keep working on your life. And it's worth it, you know, it really is worth it. Like my dedication period was only 3 years, and avoid the repercussion and the ripple effect of it I feel now, and I am like 57. I'm still for that, and we still experience this. And my daughter, she's only a teenager, but she's experiencing that, even though she doesn't know who the hell Jehovah's Witnesses are. I told her, don't ever get involved, because
Yeah.
that's bad news, you know, and warn everybody,
Yeah.
you know. So I would just say, look after yourself. If you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. Try to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, you know, they try to teach you that it's not about you, it's about others, about your hurting that. But no, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else, you know.
Yep.
So, you know, if you're not strong, you can't be strong for anybody else. So this is really important. But I have written a poem after I started to analyzing what this organization was, what this cult was. And when I started to hear people speaking on your channel and other channels, I was really heartbroken for myself and for others. Yeah, I was I had no idea, because things were not gelling for me when I was a teenager, and I started drifting off. I just like, no, not doing this. But I never went back to revisit, and I had to, because that was unfinished business. So I had to do unfinished business. And so I'm doing it now, and you know, and I am looking into it now. And funny, I went back to uni because I was you know, teaching for almost 20 years. But then I went back to uni to finish on my psychology, and I did counseling course and all that. So now I'm a counselor. And then I realized at some point, hey, I can help people coming out of cults because I know how this is like.
Yes.
You know, I know how it is like to be in a cult because I have this experience, and, you know, how much more I can help somebody having a personal experience and experiencing what people talk about. Because people, you know, I hear people speaking on your channel or another channel going like, yeah, completely get it, you know, like I'm not like, this is bizarre. So after I started analyzing this, I've written a poem. It's a bit long, but I've written a poem, you know, heartfelt poem. That was what I felt. I have written for myself and for people out there. Before I read the poem, I want to say that the verse from the Bible, love yourself, love thy neighbor as yourself, is really important, because what Jehovah's Witnesses teach, love thy neighbor instead of yourself, you know, other people first. But the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says, love thy neighbor as yourself. But if you don't love yourself, you can't love your neighbor. It starts with you. So in terms of advice, I would say it starts with you. Look after yourself. Love yourself, you know, process stuff, you know, find out what happened to you, grieve your losses, you know, count your blessings, things like that.
Yes, absolutely. That's great advice.
It's called vanishing within. They came not with chains, but with the Bible and smiles, a whispering wind at both ends, pulling us inward until we vanished. We who once laughed in open fields now stand on the edge of our mind, a shell scripted by doctrine, our voice faded, our name is unwritten. We learn to fear our own soul, to bind desire in shame, to bend each thought until it broke. Too dangerous to be ourselves. No more dreams, no more curious hands, no reckless love, no artful noise. The path was narrow, so narrow it erased our feet. They said, deny yourself. So we did. They said, don't think. So we stopped. They said, obey. And we kneeled, not in worship, but in absence. We saw the predators, not at the gates, but within. We watched the children walk blindly into the arms that never loved, and we were told to look away. Each day we waited for fire, Armageddon looming for the last 120 years, Jehovah with clenched fist hovering over our breath, and still we feared being wrong. We feared the beast, hungry for power and control, hungry for our pain. But what can they take? They took ourselves, our passion, people we meant to love and walk with, books we meant to read, thoughts we meant to have, career paths we meant to share with the world, choices we meant to have, humanity we meant to experience. Was our pain not enough? Were they hungry for our souls? To leave meant death, but to stay meant absence. So we stood on that island, frozen, unmade, unseen. The world looked on, a grown-up person, a body in motion, but inside, we are an empty shell. Not lazy, perhaps broken, definitely unbuilt. The soul takes time to grow again, to find color in a wall painted gray. We needed our wall to see us, to mirror our souls, to help us to see ourselves. But still, a flicker, the first nod of nay. This is not the end. This is the breath before the rising, before the blossom of our spirit. The beast whispered, I have taken it all. Their grand delusions, for what lives within you is beyond theft. Go in peace, my brother and sister. You are yours and God's alone.
That is so beautiful and so well written. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. You are those last words.
Yeah, I just want to say I feel for all the Jehovah's Witnesses who are lost in there, and for all those who have left who are still lost, because I was the lucky one. I didn't accept a lot of the rubbish that was happening there. And I felt I was a very spiritual person, but for 10 years I was very lost after I left because I couldn't find my spirituality. I would go from church to church. But in the end, I found my spirituality that I practice for the last 30 years now. And I am a member of Self-Realization Fellowship, which is in America, in Los Angeles, Mother Center.
Okay.
And it's like, teachings of a Hindu enlightened man. And they teach techniques of meditation and yoga and the right living. And I am a member of there is no group in my town, so I'm just basically meditating on my own and doing this. But I found my spirituality that doesn't have the end to it. And
Yeah.
I'm practicing that every day, and I really love it. And I could not ever fault this organization and this spirituality. And I am so thankful that I found that I could fill that void with
Mm-hmm.
my current spirituality, because I felt like I was abandoned by God for a long time after I left Jehovah's Witnesses. And I realized that a lot of witnesses can feel the same way, because a lot of them have that love for God. And when they leave, like, where else are we going to go? So I
Mm-hmm.
would say, pray to God, and God will find a way. God will show you the way, like which
Yep.
spirituality you're meant to belong to. Is it Christian? Is it Hindu? Is it other religion, Buddhism? And it's up to you. Like we all alone on this path, and we have to find ourselves. We have
Yep.
other people around us, but really we for ourselves here on this planet. So
Absolutely. I think it's so important that you find whatever that spirituality path is once you leave and you don't ignore it. I feel like we all have that tug somewhere deep inside of us that we want to connect with some form of a higher power, and that's very important to listen to that. Absolutely.
So I
Yes.
just want to wish everybody all the best and all the
Love
hugs
it.
and kisses. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been such an enlightening conversation. You are a force to be reckoned with. Like you are just such a strong woman, and
I
I have
am.
no doubt your story, your advice will help so many people. So I truly appreciate you coming on here today and speaking out and sharing your whole story with this platform. I'm so excited to share this with others. So thank you.
Thank you, Alisa, for here having me. And I've watched all your shows, all your, your videos, and it was amazing. And I think you're doing amazing work. And it's so important, especially for women to speak the truth and find their voice, because I think they're so repressed
Hmm.
in Jehovah's Witness organization that they may not realize they have voice and they should use it. And I'm
Yes,
really grateful to you that you provide this platform for them to speak out, because it can be really healing when you speak out.
absolutely. Yeah, I think it's especially for us women, reclaiming our voices is very important when we leave. I think it's part of the healing process.
Yes, it's very
Yeah.
important. It was
Well,
nice talking to you,
it
and
was
all the
wonderful
best to you
chatting.
and your family and your lovely husband. I think he's one of the most decent men that I've heard. He just looks so honest
Hmm.
and so decent and so good
Yes,
inside. And
he
both of you
is.
are very lovely couple, because I've watched all your videos.
You're so sweet.
and I,
He's
I
definitely a gem.
enjoyed his speaking. Like he's got power to his speaking as well, to his voice.
Mhm.
So it was
Yes,
very
he does.
powerful when he was speaking as well.
Well, thank you. That's very sweet of you. And again, thank you so much for being on today. For everybody who has sat here and been a safe space for Beata to tell her story, please make sure, as always, you are dropping some love and support in the comments of this video. It's not easy always sitting down and sharing your story and being on camera and being vulnerable. So always remember, these are real people. They have feelings. So give them love, show them support, and thank her so much for speaking out today. As always, I end with the same thing. If you have a story you would like to tell as well, please make sure you're reaching out to me. There will be a link in the bio that you can click to connect with me. And you are more than welcome to sit down like this and just share your story. If you're not at that place, you can also share an anonymous letter. If you have any questions, you can always go to Ask Alyssa and leave a voicemail. I have a lot of voicemails coming through recently, so I will be doing those as regular segments as well, just answering your questions you may have, giving you advice from a place as a friend. So as always, I thank you guys for being a supportive community and a safe space for all of these amazing, strong women, and I will see you guys on the next video.